Superman is up there, but is he really the strongest? DC Comics has a deep bench of heroes and villains you may not have heard of, and some of them have power levels you might not believe.
The DC Universe is chock full of all kinds of aliens and gods, most of whom can beat up whole armies of bad guys without breaking a sweat. But who's the strongest of the strong? From otherworldly deities to extraterrestrial warriors, here are DC's most powerful heroes. Ethan Avery is an American soldier who volunteers for a program that allows him to transform into the Hulk-like creature Damage for 1 hour a day. For much of his standalone series, Damage finds himself locking horns with other DC heroes, and those confrontations show just how staggeringly powerful the man-monster is. In 2018's Damage number 2, Amanda Waller sends a Suicide Squad to stop Damage, and despite a lineup that includes such heavy hitters as Solomon Grundy and Giganta, Damage tears through them. He punches right through the massive hand of Giganta and proves too powerful for the power-sucking parasite to drain without overloading himself. Eventually, Wonder Woman relieves the squad and Damage fights her to a standstill too. The Justice League also gets a shot at Avery in Damage number 11 when, among other things, Damage is able to easily rip through the constructs Green Lantern creates with his power ring. The issue leads into a cover-to-cover battle with Superman in Damage number 12, which ends with Deadman interrupting the fight by possessing Damage. So sure, he isn't the most well-known DC hero, in fact he's one of the newest, but Damage is still incredibly tough, with the only real limit to his power being the temporary nature of his abilities. Shazam, the powerful alter ego of young Billy Batson, is said to possess the greatest attributes of a number of powerful and revered historical figures. In fact, the name Shazam comes from the list of biblical and mythical characters from whom his powers are culled: Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. Whether he's literally able to get his powers from these beings or if their names are just used symbolically kinda depends on who's writing him. But regardless, he more than lives up to the hype.
I'm invisible! I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm invisible!
Shazam has long been criticized as something of a Superman clone, to the point that DC's precursor National Comics once sued Fawcett Comics, Shazam's creators, over the similarities between the two. Fittingly, Shazam's battles with the Man of Steel reveal just how powerful he is. One of the most famous examples is in the classic 1996 miniseries Kingdom Come. In this story, a manipulated Shazam comes close to killing Superman. Less well-known, but perhaps even more impressive, is 1999's JLA number 29, in which Shazam's strength of Hercules takes Superman out in 2 punches. To be fair, it's a surprise attack, and even Shazam admits he got kinda lucky. But the list of people who can KO Superman in 2 hits under any circumstances is still pretty short. Gal Gadot's movie version of Wonder Woman is one of the most powerful superheroes to have appeared on the big screen in recent years, but the comic book version is even stronger. Considering 2017's Wonder Woman ends with the titular hero defeating the war god Ares, it may not surprise you to learn just how often the Wonder Woman of the comics is forced to endure abuse from the gods. Zeus himself blasts Diana with lightning in 1987's Wonder Woman number 10, but she manages to survive the onslaught. She actually goes one further and knocks Zeus on his rear end in 2009's Wonder Woman number 33. Wonder Woman has also gone toe-to-toe with the most powerful heroes and villains of DC Comics, almost always giving as good as she gets. In 1999's JLA Titans number 3, with nothing more than her own strength and speed, she single-handedly stops a massive asteroid from crashing into Earth. Darkseid's son Orion has long been considered one of the strongest heroes in the DC Comics pantheon. During his brief time with the Justice League in the late 90s, Orion proved himself to possess might comparable to that of Wonder Woman and Superman, only with fewer manners and more ferocity. More than perhaps any other event in the history of comics, 2008's Countdown to Final Crisis number 2 proved the spacefaring Orion deserved a spot on the short list of the company's mightiest protagonists. In this story, Orion interrupts a battle between his uber-villain father Darkseid and a super-powerful Jimmy Olsen in order to take care of his father once and for all. Father and son wage an epic battle while the Justice League watches, and Orion not only defeats a villain most DC heroes wouldn't survive meeting, but he actually rips Darkseid's heart out of his chest, too. The Man of Steel was never quite as powerful as he used to be after the game-changing line-wide event Crisis on Infinite Earths, but he's still largely seen as the indisputable alpha male of DC Comics heroes. After all, there's a good reason why he's usually counted as the hallmark against which all other DC heroes are measured. Supergirl isn't quite as celebrated as her cousin, but she's proven herself to be just as powerful, sometimes more so.
She is every bit the hero he is. She just needs the chance to prove it.
In the second season finale of CW Supergirl, for example, Melissa Benoist's Supergirl knocks out a mind-controlled Superman. In the Crisis on Infinite Earths comics, it's Supergirl who defeats the villainous Anti-Monitor, although she does die in the process. In 2005 Supergirl #1, she KOs strongman Solomon Grundy with a single punch and saves the super team, the Justice Society of America, from the villain in the process. All in all, it's fair to say that Kara more than lives up to the reputation of her iconic cousin. Okay, so Lobo is usually thought of as an anti-hero at best and an outright villain at worst, but he has sometimes found himself allied with the heroes of DC, such as when he was recruited into the Justice League in the 2017 18 volume of Justice League of America. And in terms of his strength, well, there's the fact that he wiped out his own race for fun, for one. He has also gone toe-to-toe with Superman a number of times, proving himself at least a Kryptonian's equal and sometimes is better. In 1990's Adventures of Superman number 464, a drunk Lobo travels to the Fortress of Solitude to prove himself Superman's superior, and the Man of Steel ends the fight by faking his death and hiding until Lobo leaves. If an enemy does somehow manage to injure Lobo, it usually doesn't matter. The main man has regeneration powers that make Wolverine's healing factor look like a Band-Aid. In the second season of the sci-fi series Krypton, Lobo manages to physically regenerate after literally blowing his own head off. John Jones, also known as the Martian Manhunter, famously has one of the easiest vulnerabilities to exploit, a weakness to fire. But despite that unfortunate Achilles heel, he's still one of DC's mightiest and most versatile heroes. Although he's not quite as strong as his colleague Superman, Martian Manhunter shares many of his powers with the Man of Steel. At the same time, however, there's a lot Jones can do that Superman can't, which often gives him the edge in battle. A perfect example of just how formidable his unique collection of powers makes him appears in the 2000 original graphic novel JLA Earth 2. When the Justice League's evil doppelgangers arrive from another reality to wreak havoc on Earth Prime, Jones effortlessly takes out Ultraman, that reality's version of Superman. After that fight, you can't help but wonder if Jones could handle Ultraman's more heroic counterpart just as easily. DC's Dr. Fate is often compared to Marvel's Doctor Strange, though in many ways the comparison doesn't fit. True, both are powerful sorcerers, but unlike Strange, Fate isn't limited to just his spells. Thanks to the powers granted to him by the godlike being Nabu, Dr. Fate is also super strong, telekinetic, telepathic, able to blast his opponents with fire and lightning, and he can fly too. Of course, Dr. Fate does also wield a range of powerful spells. With his magic, Fate has traveled through time, raised the dead, and stepped across dimensions. Dr. Fate's connection to the world of magic also grants him access to the elder beings and gods who can cause so much trouble in DC's vast, complex universe. Considering even powerhouses like Superman are vulnerable to magic, there are few heroes in DC's comics who would want to get on Fate's bad side. The Phantom Stranger is one of DC's most mysterious figures, one who prefers to steer other heroes towards specific important goals rather than getting directly involved himself. What little is known about his origin has changed multiple times over the years. In some versions, he's said to be an angel cast out of heaven for refusing to take a side in Lucifer's rebellion against God. And in a more recent origin story, it's implied that he's Judas, cursed to walk the earth forever to atone for his betrayal. Whoever the Phantom Stranger is, he's not only one of DC's most powerful heroes, but one of its most powerful beings full stop. He has been shown to be able to manipulate time, travel across great distances without any kind of external aid, fire blasts of intense power at his enemies, and perceive things invisible to most mortals. In both Watchmen and Doomsday Clock, Dr. Manhattan proves capable of just about anything.
Nations around the world still reeling from this morning's announcement, possibly the most significant event in recent history. The Superman exists, and he is American.
In his appearances during these stories, Manhattan is capable of growing taller than mountains, destroys his enemies with little more than a thought, and can survive pretty much anything. And he's more than capable of performing similar feats in the 2019 HBO series Watchmen. But it's this power that can also make Dr. Manhattan so frustrating. As many characters point out in the HBO series, Manhattan could have changed the world for the better on a global scale, but he doesn't. Ironically, in spite of his power, Manhattan is trapped by it. This is because Manhattan experiences time in a non-linear fashion. He experiences the present, past, and future all at once. So if you were to ask him, for example, why he doesn't wipe out global hunger with a flick of his wrist, he would likely tell you that he doesn't wipe out hunger because he doesn't wipe out hunger. The idea that he could change the future he already experiences never seems to occur to him.
It'd be the showdown of the century, but could the mighty Atom really take on the Man of Steel? One critical difference between Superman and Black Adam in the comics is that Atom can discharge lightning bolts as projectiles while engaging his enemies in battle. It might not ever need to come to that though, because Black Adam has an immediate edge over Kal-El. The Mighty Atom's most significant, unique advantage over the last son of Krypton is that he is immortal. Superman seems ageless, but Kal-El does grow older, albeit at a prolonged rate due to the sun's effect on his Kryptonian cells. It might take centuries or even longer, but Clark Kent will eventually succumb to death from natural causes. If a brouhaha between these two super beings ever escalated into a fight, theoretically Black Adam could just wait it out until Superman keels over from old age. Since a millennia-long wait does not make for very good storytelling, however, there must be a more immediate determination of a winner. For his part, Superman can put up one heck of a fight. His debut in Action Comics #1 back in 1938 saw Superman able to leap 1/8 of a mile with skin that could be broken by nothing less than a bursting shell. By contrast, the Superman of more recent days has been seen lifting quintillions of tons single-handed, flying so fast that time moves backward and punching holes in the fabric of reality. Writers have gone back to the Superman loses his powers, well, so many times that it's become a full-blown trope, mostly because it's hard to write a high-stakes story when your hero can't be beaten, and that might just be where Black Adam comes into play. While everybody knows that Superman is vulnerable to kryptonite, he has another weakness that people often forget about: magic. In Superman #14, the Man of Steel was put under a trance by malevolent fish people. In Superman Volume 2, #49, a piece of magical kryptonite strips him of his powers. In Superman #171, he outright laments that his invulnerability can't protect him from a sorcerer's spell. This brings us to Black Adam. Adam has gone through his own growing pains over the years, but one aspect of his personality has remained solid. His powers are magical in nature.
Did he just catch a rocket?
They were given to him by the same wizard who turned Billy Batson into the world's mightiest mortal, and they stem from the abilities of ancient gods. Sometimes Greek, sometimes Egyptian, but always very, very powerful. If Black Adam plans on defeating Superman, he should travel to Smallville, Kansas, where Kal-El's vessel crash-landed on Earth, and where he may find Green K kryptonite. Green K is among the most common and powerful iterations of kryptonite because it can weaken and kill the Man of Steel with prolonged exposure. If the Mighty Atom wants to take out Superman once and for all, though, there's only one shade of kryptonite he should bother searching for: gold kryptonite. The most formidable weapon Black Adam, or anyone else for that matter, could ever hope to wield against Kal-El, gold kryptonite will permanently strip Superman of all his powers. Black Adam will have to get up close and personal to use it, but Gold K is another potential way to victory. With all the advantages Black Adam has over the Man of Steel, the simple truth remains: Superman is stronger. If it comes down to physical combat, the Mighty Atom will fall. Even inferior alternate versions of Superman have bested Black Adam in the comic books. In Shazam, Volume 3, #14, the evil Superboy Prime easily defeats not only Black Adam, but all the Marvels on his own. And that was the second time Superboy Prime bested the Mighty Atom. He also made quick work of him during the Infinite Crisis crossover event. Ultraman, Kal-El's alternate darker half from Earth 3, ended his fisticuffs with Black Adam by breaking his jaw in Forever Evil #3. And don't think Superman will have any problem dealing out punishment against his new foe. Kal-El has abandoned his morality on multiple occasions to do what is necessary to save the world and those he loves. In alternate reality, Kal-El slaughtered Wonder Woman in 2004's Superman Batman Absolute Power, and the Man of Steel wiped out the Joker, Black Canary, Green Arrow, and even Shazam in the far-reaching Injustice saga. Finally, in Man of Steel, the first official installment of the DCEU's big screen adventures, Superman is forced to break General Zod's neck to save a group of civilians. Bottom line, Superman is not above killing.
DC villains are pretty tough in the movies, but big screen baddies don't come anywhere close to matching the sheer power depicted in the comics. From meta-humans to multiverse-ending threats, this is our ranking of some of DC's most formidable bad guys. With a name like Vandal Savage, you know this supervillain means business. An immortal warlord anywhere between 50,000 to 1 million years old, Savage has had a lot of identities over the years. Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Vlad the Impaler, and Jack the Ripper are just a few of his many names. He's even claimed to be the biblical Cain, who killed his brother Abel and became the first murderer in the process. A Golden Age supervillain who first appeared in 1943's Green Lantern #10, Savage was granted immortality by a passing meteorite before devoting devoting his never-ending life to war and conquest. He has honed his superhuman skills in combat and weaponry over the course of centuries, making him one of the first known metahumans and one of the most dangerous villains on Earth at any given point in the timeline. Savage's mission to conquer the world has made him a deadly foe for DC's heroes in the past, the present, and the future. While he certainly isn't the only immortal villain to face off against the Justice League, Savage's world-hopping origins and connections to some of history's greatest monsters give him a sinister edge. It's not wise to mess with Mother Nature. Just ask anyone in Gotham City who has dared to cross Poison Ivy. One of the most iconic supervillains in Batman's Rogues Gallery, Poison Ivy, started her life as a brilliant botanist, Dr. Pamela Isley. After a scientific experiment involving plant toxins went sideways, Isley gained the ability to control people's minds using pheromones. That's powerful enough on its own, but what truly makes Poison Ivy dangerous is her connection with a powerful elemental force known as the Green. This mystical link grants her complete control over Earth's plant life, enabling her to rapidly grow and animate plants to use against her enemies however she sees fit.
You're getting to be a real thorn in my side, Batman.
And you're no rose, Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy has frequently been depicted as an eco-terrorist driven to destroy humanity, or at the very least, to make humankind pay for the damage they have inflicted on the planet. Recently though, Poison Ivy has embraced a more complex role of anti-heroine, thanks in part to her romantic relationship with Harley Quinn. Even when she uses her powers in Batman Volume 3, number 43 to control the minds of everyone on Earth, Superman included, Poison Ivy decides to save the world rather than let her plants overrun it. All of this makes her one of the more sympathetic DC villains that happens to have apocalyptic abilities. The Reverse Flash may not be the #1 most powerful villain in DC's lineup, but he's definitely the #1 hater. The speedster, who also uses the names Eobard Thawne and Professor Zoom, has a single unshakable goal: to destroy the life of the second Flash, Barry Allen. Hailing from the distant future, Thawne sought to recreate the accident that gave Barry his superpowers, eventually generating the negative speed force in the process. His ability to harness the extra-dimensional negative energy field allows him to travel through time and alter reality to suit his evil whims. As the Reverse Flash, Thawne is naturally the Flash's greatest nemesis. Thawne is behind every tragedy in Barry Allen's life, using his powers to rip his rival's existence to shreds. In one timeline depicted in The Flash, number 275, he kills Barry's wife, Iris. In another, as depicted in The Flash Rebirth, Thawne kills Barry's mother, Nora, and frames his father for the crime for good measure. Reverse Flash has become a kind of living time paradox, deliberately altering history for his own personal gain, or trapped in an endless loop of antagonism with the Flash. His abuse of his tremendous time travel powers, combined with his staggeringly cruel, single-minded hatred of his arch-enemy, make him one of DC's most fiendish villains. Get in his way, and he'll change history so you were never even born.
Enjoy your petty little victories, Flash. But no matter how fast you run, you can't save everyone.
One of the most controversial villains in the DC universe, Superboy Prime is a dark and violent variant of Superman. His story is a tragic one. Superboy Prime was an eager young hero before the Anti-Monitor obliterated his home world, Earth Prime, in the Crisis on Infinite Earths event. Following the crisis, Superboy Prime was a multiversal refugee living in a paradise dimension, but the loss of his family in Earth Prime drove him to madness. In the limited series Infinite Crisis, Superboy Prime uses his Kryptonian strength to break the barrier between worlds. What follows is a rampage that ends with the deaths of several heroes, including the mainstream DC Universe's Superboy, Connor Kent. Not even Superman's traditional weaknesses like magic and kryptonite seem to be able to stop him. Superboy Prime was a persistent threat to the Teen Titans and the Justice League during his time in the spotlight, but he's best remembered for his so-called retcon punch. During Infinite Crisis, it's established that Superboy Prime's punches are so powerful that they can literally tear the fabric of the DC Universe, resulting in timeline changes. Of course, this was a way for writers and readers alike to blame anything they didn't like in DC Comics on Superboy Prime. You definitely wouldn't want to find yourself on the receiving end of one of his reality rewriting attacks. Just mentioning the name Parallax will elicit an emotional reaction from many DC fans, which is fitting for an ancient entity representing fear in the galaxy. When Parallax was first named in the Emerald Twilight storyline in 1994, he was believed to be Hal Jordan, a once great Green Lantern driven to despair after the destruction of his beloved Coast City. Embracing the supervillain name Parallax, Jordan slaughtered the Green Lantern Corps, in which was a tragic yet historic DC event. That single atrocity warrants a spot on this list, but Parallax's true identity is more complex than that. Published between 2004 and 2005, the 6-issue limited series Green Lantern Rebirth revealed that Parallax was a cosmic parasite once imprisoned by the Green Lantern Corps. In fact, Parallax is actually the reason why the Green Lantern Corps are famously weak against the color yellow. The embodiment of the power of fear, Parallax would go on to possess the Flash and Green Lantern Kyle Rayner as well. Any living creature susceptible to fear is vulnerable to Parallax's mind control powers and solid light constructs. Its evil influence has no limit. Parallax is the ultimate power source for the Sinestro Corps, who use their yellow power rings to spread fear and terror throughout the universe.
With this weapon, I can fulfill my true purpose. I can wipe the universe clean and create a newer, better one.
Forget the Bat Family and the Super Family, the Endless are the most powerful family unit in the DC universe, and it's not close. As embodiments of cosmic forces, the 7 siblings, Destiny, Death, Dream, Destruction, Desire, Despair, and Delirium, are billions of years old. Unlike gods, they will continue to exist forever even if no one believes in them. While most humans naturally fear death or destruction, Desire of the Endless is actually the cruelest and most capricious of the lot. It's Desire's personal belief that all mortals exist to be their personal playthings. Their eons-long feud with their brother Dream nearly destroyed the world, as revealed in The Sandman number 16. Desire manipulated events so that their granddaughter, Rose Walker, will become a vortex, a being with the power to collapse the walls between the minds of every living dreamer and destroy the fabric of reality. Thankfully, Desire's elaborate plan to trick Dream into killing Rose failed, with the fate of the universe seemingly inconsequential to the vain immortal. As the personification of need itself, with the ability to bestow love and take it away, Desire wields enormous power over the DC universe. It's perhaps only their self-absorbed nature that prevents them from becoming a more active threat, something that every superhero should be thankful for. Created by the legendary Jack Kirby to be the DC Universe's God of Evil, Darkseid is one of the most iconic villains in comic book history. The ruler of the grim planet Apokolips is an iron-willed, stone-faced tyrant who commands vast armies of parademons, fires destructive Omega beams from his eyes, and has raised wells in his quest to find the mysterious anti-life equation. A persistent archenemy of Superman, the Justice League, and the new gods of New Genesis, Darkseid's goal is to eliminate all free will and hold supreme power over the universe. It's his hope that possessing the equation will make this possible.
You are now the instrument of my will.
Darkseid finally unleashes the anti-life equation in the 7-issue crossover event Final Crisis. With this, the villain is able to control the minds of nearly everyone on Earth and turn the planet into a doomsday singularity that risks ripping apart time and space. Although Superman and a specially constructed miracle machine ultimately save Earth, Darkseid drives one of DC's greatest heroes to do the unthinkable. While trying to stop him, Batman shoots Darkseid with a gun loaded with a special radion bullet, thus breaking his oath to never use the weapon that killed his parents. It's one of the few times that Batman has gone back on his biggest rule, and Darkseid personally makes sure that he pays for it dearly. In a world of gods and monsters, Trigon is as evil as Satan himself, though he shouldn't be mistaken for the actual devil. Trigon's origins are similarly mythical. According to the 1982 4-issue limited series Tales of the New Teen Titans, he was born after the peaceful mystics of Azarath attempted to exercise their darkest emotions and urges. Trigon is an interdimensional demon of immeasurable power who has wiped out countless civilizations. He's also a strong candidate for the worst dad in DC history, siring multiple children across eons in order to extend the reach of his evil empire. One of Trigon's hundreds of children is the half-human superhero Raven, who forms the New Teen Titans in order to thwart her father's conquest of Earth. She spent her life fighting his demonic influence on her soul.
You survive only because I allow it. What hope can a mere child have of defeating her all-powerful father?
But Trigon is way more than a bad dad. He represents the evil that lurks deep within the hearts of mankind, and that's what makes him especially terrifying. Just like in the real world, one of the most frightening and powerful villains in the DC universe is death itself. The skeletal, scythe-wielding Necron rules over the land of the unliving and is one of several personifications of death in DC lore. With his powers of necromancy, he repeatedly crosses dimensions to battle the Green Lantern Corps, becoming a threat to all life in the cosmos by producing the Black Power Rings. In the crossover event Blackest Night, Necron imprisons the Anti-Monitor as a power source and resurrects deceased heroes and villains as undead Black Lanterns. He even revives heroes hero's loved ones, just so he can torment them further. It's all incredibly bleak, and it's only possible because of Necron's sheer power. Necron even has some zombified A-listers in his ranks here, as dead versions of Green Arrow, Wonder Woman, and even Superman are all brought back as Black Lanterns. Necron's evil plans are derailed when Hal Jordan bonds with a cosmic life entity to become a White Lantern, and he uses his newfound power to condemn Necron back to the land of the unliving. But can death ever truly be defeated? If this was a ranking of DC villains based on kill count alone, then the Anti-Monitor would easily conquer the #1 spot. The antagonist of this seminal Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline, the Anti-Monitor destroyed the entirety of the DC multiverse, killing innumerable worlds and their inhabitants in the process. A cosmic entity from the Antimatter universe, the Anti-Monitor exists in opposition to his brother from the Positive Matter universe, the Monitor. The Anti-Monitor has the power to release a universe annihilating antimatter waves, feeding on the energy of their destruction. When encased in his armored suit at full power, the Anti-Monitor has near unlimited strength and energy, at least enough to kill Supergirl and Barry Allen. When the Anti-Monitor attempted to alter the course of history by traveling to the beginning of time, it took the combined power of the universe's remaining heroes and villains and a punch into a star by Superman of Earth 2 to end the Anti-Monitor's threat. Although DC's heroes have since faced other world-shattering Crisis events, the horrors committed by the Anti-Monitor in Crisis on Infinite Earths will never be forgotten. As far as we're concerned, there's only one DC villain who is even more powerful. Ultimately, the most powerful supervillain in the DC universe is a godlike entity who created it. Perpetua is a super celestial, a nigh-omnipotent being who shaped the first incarnation of the multiverse with the Big Bang. After this, Perpetua was meant to die and return her energy to the cosmos, but she refused, instead overseeing the now unstable multiverse. As the immortal mother of the Monitor and Anti-Monitor, Perpetua is the definitive instigator of the Crisis on Infinite Earths and the other catastrophic Crisis events that followed. Perpetua is powered by destructive Crisis energy, enabling her to destroy realities and alter the universe at will. In 2020's Dark Knight's Death Metal, Perpetua battled the Justice League head-on, joining forces with a sinister Batman variant called the Batman Who Laughs to reshape the multiverse and establish evil as a natural order. Perpetua was only destroyed after the Batman Who Laughs betrayed her and drained her Crisis energy in a cosmic duel. But even after her defeat, her impact on DC history cannot be overstated. As far as the DC universe is concerned, one might say that Perpetua is the mother of all evil.